Imagine this. You walk into a restaurant, the waiter approaches, your brain immediately enters full combat mode. You've rehearsed your order 17 times in your head, but suddenly you're re-forgetting how to pronounce burrito. Your palms are sweating. You're hyper-aware of every word leaving your mouth. The waiter is just standing there, patient, normal, while you're internally having a complete system meltdown over asking for extra napkins. Sound familiar? Welcome to the psychological minefield of social interaction anxiety, specifically the weird, exhausting overthinking that happens when all you're trying to do is order some food. This isn't just you being awkward. This is your brain running an outdated survival program that thinks the waiter is a predator evaluating whether you deserve to exist. The phenomenon has a name: social performance anxiety, and it turns everyday interactions into high-stakes auditions where you reconvinced everyone is judging your every move. The waiter doesn't care. They've seen 1,000 people today. But your brain is treating this like a live televised press conference in front of millions. Why? Because evolution never got the memo that ordering fries isn't a life or death situation. Here's the mechanism. Your brain has this ancient alarm system called the amygdala. It's basically your internal security guard, and it's paranoid as hell. Back when humans lived in small tribes, social rejection actually could kill you. Get kicked out of the group, and you're alone with the wolves. So your brain evolved to be hypervigilant about social acceptance. Fast forward to now, and that same system is firing off danger signals because you think you mispronounced mozzarella in front of a stranger you'll never see again. Your amygdala can't tell the difference between actual threats and perceived social threats. To your nervous system, embarrassing yourself in front of the waiter feels identical to being chased by a bear. When you overthink speaking to waiters, what's really happening is your prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain, is going into overdrive trying to script perfection. You're running simulations. If I say this, they might think that. If I ask for modifications, do I sound high maintenance? If I make eye contact too long, is that weird? Not long enough, am I rude? Your brain is essentially trying to speedrun every possible outcome of a 30-second interaction. This is cognitive load on steroids. You reusing mental resources meant for actual problem solving just to ask if the soup is gluten-free. The irony is brutal. The more you think about appearing normal, the less normal you appear. It's like trying to manually control your breathing. The second you focus on it, it feels wrong. When you overthink your words, you create this weird lag between thought and speech. You stumble, you pause too long. You say things in a robotic tone because you so focused on the script in your head that you forget to just be human. The waiter notices something is off, not because you're inherently awkward, but because you're performing instead of existing. You've turned yourself into an NPC, trying too hard to seem like a real player. There's also this thing called the spotlight effect. You genuinely believe everyone is paying way more attention to you than they actually are. Researchers have proven this. You think you're the main character in everyone else's story. You're not. You're barely a background extra. The waiter is thinking about their shift ending, their rent, their own problems. They're not conducting a forensic analysis of how you ordered your drink. But your brain is convinced you're under a microscope. This cognitive bias makes you hyper-focus on your own behavior, which creates a feedback loop. You notice yourself being nervous, which makes you more nervous, which makes you notice it more. It's a glitch in the matrix that you keep triggering yourself. Another layer to this is rejection sensitivity. Some people have brains wired to detect even the slightest hint of disapproval. If the waiter seems slightly impatient, your brain doesn't think, they're busy. It thinks, they hate me specifically. This isn't logical. It's emotional pattern recognition gone haywire. Your brain is scanning for threats constantly, and it interprets neutral faces as negative ones. Studies show that people with social anxiety literally perceive neutral expressions as hostile or judgmental. The waiter could be completely blank-faced, just tired, and you're reading it as them being disgusted by your existence. Your perception is lying to you, but it feels like truth. Here's where it gets darker. This overthinking often comes from childhood programming. Maybe you grew up in an environment where you were criticized for small mistakes. Maybe you learned that speaking up led to negative consequences. Your brain stored those lessons and now applies them universally. Every interaction becomes a test you might fail. The waiter represents authority, judgment, the potential for humiliation. Even though rationally you know they're just doing their job, your subconscious is replaying old scripts where being noticed meant being punished. You're not really afraid of the waiter. You're afraid of the feeling of being wrong, of being too much, of being not enough. The modern twist is that technology has made this worse. You spend so much time communicating through screens where you can edit, delete, and control your presentation. Real-time conversation has no undo button. You can't edit your verbal typos. This lack of control is terrifying to a brain that has been trained by apps to optimize every output. Talking to a waiter is like playing a game with no save points. You have to perform live, and if you mess up, it's permanent. At least in your head, it is. In reality, the waiter forgot about you before you even left the table. What's the takeaway here? Your brain is an outdated piece of software running in a world it wasn't designed for. It's treating social interactions like survival challenges because that's what they used to be. But here's the brutal truth. The overthinking doesn't protect you. It makes everything harder. The waiter isn't your enemy. Your own nervous system is. The real work isn't learning better ways to order food. It's learning to override the false alarms your brain keeps setting off. You have to manually update your internal programming. Remind yourself that social mistakes are not lethal, and that most people are too wrapped up in their own anxieties to judge yours. Stop trying to perform perfection for people who aren't even watching. The waiter just wants to know if you want fries with that, and honestly, so should you.